Hey, good evening, everybody. Chef Marshall O'Brien here, and this is Chef Marshall's Cooking with Confidence live streaming interactive cooking show. And it's interactive because you have the recipes that you got in advance, and we are cooking together in real time, streaming live on our website at chefmarshallobrien.com, streaming on Facebook and on YouTube. If you do not have tonight's recipe or the recipes in general, if they're not coming to your inbox on Saturdays and Tuesdays and you want to be a part of the fun in real time, go to chefmarshallobrien.com/show so you can get that automatically set up. You don't have to worry about this situation that you might be in right now. But we got a great situation because we got a great recipe. But before I tell you about it, we do this show for 4 reasons. Number 1, we want to give you a positive experience during the week, date night, family night, any type of night with great tasting, nourishing foods. Number 2, we want to help you with your skills and confidence in the kitchen. Number 3, we want to help take some stress out of your life with meal planning. And number 4, we want to help you nourish yourself, not just feed yourself. So there's a big difference between nourishing and eating. Again, make sure you're following us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Chef Marshall O'Brien, and Chef Marshall's Cooking with Confidence and the YouTube deal. Got an awesome recipe tonight. We have a sheet pan shrimp with asparagus and tomatoes. It's fabulous. The ingredients that we're using are as follows. We have shrimp, of course, tomatoes and asparagus, some onion powder, garlic, granulated garlic or garlic powder, some thyme, dill, basil, a little salt and pepper. This recipe is going to be very zesty from a tang from the tomatoes. We got some nice little peppery punch from the black pepper, and just a lot of flavor from those spices. Whenever we do our recipes, we always want you to be able to make great tasting, nourishing foods that are easy to do and that you will want to do again and again. And hopefully, folks, if you want to do this, you're getting the recipes in advance. Go to chefmarshallobrien.com/show to do that. Doesn't cost you anything. It's our way of helping you make life a little bit fun and easier in the kitchen. I want to give a shout out to Alex and Gabriel for making tonight possible. Thank you, guys. I want to give a shout out to my right-hand gal, Miss Jonna, who is going to be answering your questions, folks. In the chat box, put the courage in your fingertips and ask us questions, comments, thoughts, whatever you want, but she will be doing that for you. Good evening.
Good evening.
And we also have, in addition to the team, we have Director Azra, who's running cameras. Good evening. And we have Isla, Supreme Overlord, who is overseeing everything. And her role is evolving every episode. And it's just a real honor and a pleasure to have my family be a part of this. It's super awesome. Okay. You want an awesome recipe? I want an awesome recipe. This is an awesome recipe. And I want to give a quick acknowledgement, folks. When we do our recipes, it's based on the feedback from participants. And last week, I got inspired off of an improvisational dish that someone came up with because they didn't have pork. They used shrimp. And I said, hey, what a great idea. I'm going to do shrimp. So if you've got ideas for us, please share them. We do our best to accommodate. There's a variety of interests and flavors and all that kind of stuff, but I want to make this be as much about you as I can. So again, if you're watching tonight in real time and you've got questions while you're putting this together or when you're cooking or anything in general in the kitchen, please ask us. Jonna will shout it out. I will answer. It'll be fun. Okay, are we ready, folks? We always talk about being organized and being prepared in your space. So make sure you have your knife, your cutting board. Okay, trick question. Why do we call this a sheet pan meal? I think we already gave it away. Probably because of the sheet pan, right? That's pretty obvious. Sheet pan meal. It's designed to make it convenient for you. It's designed to make it easy for you, and especially if you don't want to spend a lot of time doing dishes. Obviously, I have a nice presentation here with the ingredients in the bowls, but if you don't want to go through all the hassle with multiple dishes and cleanup, sheet pan meals, one pan meals, we talked about that last episode or the episode before, I believe. They're awesome. Okay, highly recommend it. Can't say enough about it. So definitely get those going for you. All right, questions, comments, thoughts. First thing we want to do is we want to get our broiler set. So the broiler, and again, folks, whether you can cook, I hope that you'll cook with us, tonight, Thursday night, 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. But if you want to do it on the weekends or other nights, you can go to YouTube, Chef Marshall's Cooking with Confidence, and you can do the recipe then. We can't answer your questions because it's not live. Having said that, Our recipes, we come up with the recipe for you. We got a picture so you can visualize it, and then we have the shopping list on the second page so you can be prepared for success. Our recipe says to preheat the broiler. Most people have, today, like most ovens now, I remember 20 plus years ago, our broiler was at the bottom of the oven, and it was kind of a challenge to use. And, broilers, just intense heat come from the top. Think of it like an upside down grill. So the heat on the top versus grill heat on the bottom. But we want to get our broiler nice and hot. I already got a question from the team. Yes, Director Azra.
What kind of shrimp do you use?
What kind of shrimp do you use? That's a really good question, and I'll answer that in just a second. And so we got the broiler ready. It's been a second. Let's start talking about the ingredients. I have here what they call a 16 20 count shrimp. And I'm curious, folks, would you let us know in the chat box, did you get 16 count shrimp, 16 20 count shrimp? What size shrimp? Because that count number is the size, the quantity, approximate quantity per pound. So we get the 16 20 count shrimp. Now I want to point something out here, and just for sake of convenience and not making a mess and getting shrimp juice everywhere, I'm going to throw on some gloves. But you can buy shrimp, fresh frozen, obviously. You can buy it cooked. You can buy it peeled, shelled, deveined, tail on, tail off. There's all sorts of ways. Ultimately, I want you to get shrimp that works for you. What do I mean by that? As you can see here, go to 3, please. We have, this is a shrimp with the tail on, and we've got the shell on. Now, it's been deveined. Now, what does that mean? There's just a big, thick vein that goes down the middle. And what I do, now it's already deveined, so I don't have to do it. But if it wasn't, I would take a knife, a small knife like this, and it's a little cumbersome. That's why I want to kind of go on convenience here. But I'd take the knife, and I would just cut it all the way through. And your knife, if it's sharp enough, it doesn't have to be like hardcore Ginsu 5000 sharp, but make it sharp enough, it'll easily cut through, and you can pull that out. That's a lot of monkeying around, okay? I don't want you to have to feel that this is going to prevent you from doing it, but I just want you to understand. So you can buy them already peeled. You can buy them. Can you go back to 2, please? Thank you. You can go back. You can already buy them peeled, shelled, peeled, deveined, and all that kind of stuff. And I peeled these in advance, but I just want you to have that awareness. Now I'm doing raw because I happen to. How many of you have ever had a rubber shrimp? Say it in the chat box, okay? And if you don't know what I'm talking about, overcooked shrimp, then you'll know what I'm talking about. You can buy it cooked and then you warm it up, but you got to be a little delicate because if you cook it too long, even if it's a raw shrimp, it can get really rubbery and chewy. So that's why I make that point about paying attention to what you are, paying attention to what you're cooking there. And I'm using raw because I have a little more control, and I designed the recipe to be for raw shrimp. All right, questions, comments, thoughts? Questions, comments, thoughts. How are we doing? Yes. Oh, Jana, we got a question.
Well,
or not.
I want to make sure that everyone can see us on Facebook.
Are we having Facebook issues tonight?
Can anyone, I know Tess said I can't seem to find the show. Is it live yet? And I hope you saw my YouTube webpage. I send it.
Okay, well, should we just keep moving forward? Should I take we could do a comedic act?
But I have a link on the comments.
Yes.
And everyone can go to YouTube in the meantime.
Or
go to Facebook.
Or
your webpage.
Yeah, or go to our webpage. Either way. So if there is, and I don't know, but if there's an issue with YouTube, with Facebook, go to YouTube. Links in the chat box. Go to chefmarshallobrien.com/show, and you can watch us. Either way, we got you covered. Let's move forward. Azra has another question. Yes.
How many ingredients do you use?
That's a really good question. You can count up, maybe Isla can count up all the ingredients and then give me the recipe back. All right, folks, this is what we're going to do. Is we have our broiler set up, and so it's going to be hot. We got about 5 to 6 inches approximately from the broiler unit, the top rack. Okay, we're going to take our shrimp, which I have thawed out. I bought frozen because that's all I had access to, and that's awesome. We're going to take all the ingredients, but first, let's cut up the asparagus. And I want to point out a couple things. A lot of times, people think of asparagus, they think a baby, like they see these little pencil thin asparagus, right? Nice and vibrant and got nice little almost flowering heads here, but these asparagus, are these baby asparagus or are they old grandpa asparagus? I want to know in the chat box. Let me know. And while you're deciding that, I'm going to show you a couple little things that I want you to be thinking about. When it comes to asparagus, at the very bottom, it's a woody end. I need my camera director to be like on the camera tonight, or you're going to get dethroned. You guys can have that conversation in sign language because I'm doing a show right now. Having said that, the bottoms of the asparagus are kind of woody. These, obviously are growing to roots in the ground, and they can get fibrous. They're tough. So you want to take, you want to either snap them or peel them, but at a minimum, you want to get, you want to remove that because it's not very palatable. It doesn't taste good. Like doesn't feel good in your mouth. Here's something you gotta pay attention to. You can take these and you can snap them just as I did, but there's still edible asparagus on there. So what I suggest that you do, folks, is take those fibrous woody ends and just kind of be conservative on how you cut off the ends. I personally don't like the snap technique because I feel like you get rid of too much of the edible product. So I'm going to trim off I'm trimming off the woody stuff. I've got that done, right? Now, if you want, and there's some very fine dining asparagus related recipes that would call to take a peeler and peel the outer skin because it's it gets to a point where it's still very woody and fibrous. You could do that, but this sort of defeats the purpose of my whole motto of simple, quick, and delicious. And this would be very, I think, just time intensive, and I don't want you to go through that. So my suggestion, folks, is just to trim off the ends and get it so you're not dealing with the woody skin like that. All right, we did those. We'll cut these into, large pieces. Pretty simple. This recipe is going to go quick because we're going to be broiling it with that intense heat. And we're going to put those on the pan. Questions, comments, thoughts? Okay, Azra has a question. Yes, Azra.
Would it be tasty if you ate the skin part?
That's a good question. Yeah, would it be tasty if you ate the skin? Well, here, let me give you some, and you can tell us. Well, you asked if it would be tasty, so let me give you another piece here, and Isla can, if I can keep it on the cutting board here. All right, you ladies, tell us if it's tasty raw, because basically the question is does asparagus taste good raw? The answer is yes, and it tastes better when you have a marinade. After we have our asparagus chopped up, again, very simple. After this is chopped up, we are going to make the marinade. And the marinade is going to be, and I'm going to actually start it in the bowl here, and I'm going to take some olive oil. We're going to pour the olive oil inside, and then we're going to take the spices and the dried herbs. If you decide, well, first I'll finish my comment about the herbs, but if you, we got to take some onion powder, if I can get it in there. Onion powder is sticky. Why is that? Probably the humidity. It's kind of sticky in the kitchen today. Okay, put our onion powder in there. We have garlic powder, and then we have thyme. And we have the dill and the basil. This is just packed full of aroma and flavor. And then, as I said, we have the salt and pepper. We want to mix this up really good. And when you have, whether it's cooked asparagus or raw asparagus, it tastes even more tasty when you have yummy, tasty flavors like this. And what I love about this is it's so simple. Now, if you want to use fresh herbs instead of dried herbs, and I'm always talking about how to prepare foods with herbs. It's a 3:1 ratio, 3 fresh to 1 dry. So if you're going to go fresh instead of dry, which would be great, especially the thyme. Basil, fresh basil in here, you might want to put after you take it out of the oven because that fresh basil will burn up pretty quick and turn black. But if you put it on at the end, the flavors from the basil would come out really nice. But we're again using dry herbs. We're going to add that to our asparagus here and pop that in. And we're going to, the step with the bowl in the step I have here with the shrimp, it's an optional step. You don't have to season up the shrimp like this. You could just do it with all the vegetables. But We want to make sure we scrape out the bowl because there's all this tasty goodness. Questions, comments, thoughts, folks. Questions, comments,
Azra
thoughts.
has a question.
Azra has a question. Yes, Azra.
Where do you get the herbs?
Where do we get the herbs? Well, you could get the herbs at the grocery store like I did today. You could get them at a spice shop. You could get them, you could grow your own herbs if you wanted to do that. Because we used to do that.
Brown tomatoes?
These are cherry, actually these are grape tomatoes.
Could I have one?
Okay, I think we're going to reconsider our team for the next week. Anyways, with the grape tomatoes, folks, if you want to just keep them whole, and that's what we did in the recipe. If you want to cut them up, that's fine. You know, it's really up to you. Again, I just want to get all the barriers out of the way so you can make this really simple and make it, you'll do it again over and over again. Another little tip for you. If you are going to have a particularly busy day and you're concerned that you are not going to want to take the time and assemble all of this as we're doing right now, you could do it in advance. Really simple. Do it in advance and then just have it on a sheet pan or have it, in a foil packet and then just open up the packet, and that would be totally cool. I'm actually going to switch my utensil because I want the rubber spatula so it doesn't cut my foil. Oftentimes when I'm doing when I'm cooking in the oven, I will have foil and I'll have parchment paper on top, but I'm not doing parchment paper on top. Anybody know why? Let me know. There was another question that I asked that I forgot to follow up on. I already forgot. I'll tell you why, folks. Because the parchment paper is going to burn from the broiler. So we don't want that to happen.
All right, now I can see the questions.
All right.
And we're back on Facebook.
We're back on Facebook. Not sure what happened there, folks. Sorry about that.
Cindy says, I have to add more asparagus and tomatoes because son and grandson ate half of them before it went in oven.
Cindy, you just made my day because that I love the fact that you've got your kids and grandkids participating. That is super awesome. I absolutely love that, and that's what it's all about. That's why we're doing this show, is we want to get you participating. We want to get you trying stuff, and the fact that they're eating all the food, I think, is super cute. I love it. We're going to pop this now in the oven. This is going to be quick. I mean, this recipe is very, very fast. Now, if you have a shrimp allergy, a couple of you emailed in advance saying, can I substitute? Absolutely, you could substitute. You need to be mindful that, let's say you go chicken. Well, chicken's going to probably be 3 times as dense, or pork, as the shrimp. So you're going to have to modify your time. Your asparagus, your tomatoes are obviously going to cook quicker. Experiment with it. I would say, if possible, maybe go with chunks of whitefish, or you want to just go a heartier, denser fish, some salmon or tuna or whatever. But this is a really nice dish, with the spices, the herbs, and if you want to switch it up, totally cool. But let's get this in the oven. Someone do me a favor. Azra, can you keep a timer for me for like 2 minutes so that I don't forget about this? We're gonna put this. You can hang on to your question, sweetie, and then we'll answer it. Again, 3 minutes. We want to pop it in the oven or in the broiler so that we get some intense heat on there, and then we're going to stir it in another 2 to 3 minutes. Okay, questions, comments, thoughts?
I don't know you answered this, but I'll
Yes.
ask. Tess is asking, can this be wrapped up with the foil and put over barbecue?
If I had a barbecue set up here in a patio with some cocktails, we've been doing that tonight. Yes, I love that idea, Tess. What I would suggest when what I would suggest if you're going to do foil cooking on the grill or a fire, a campfire, if possible, try to set it up with indirect heat. And sometimes indirect heat, and what I mean by that is you have heat on one side or on the front or the back, and then you're cooking. And I only say that especially with the foil because sometimes foil can dissolve. Like if it's hot enough, or you'll just burn your food and then it's raw in the very, very middle and you don't get it cooked the way you want. But with this recipe, because everything's so light, it would be a fantastic recipe to do on the grill. Love that idea.
Question.
Yes, questions.
BK Mullen. BK, please write me your name. We always call you BK, but I know you mentioned your name before. Can the ingredients be marinating in the morning with plans to cook that night?
Word of caution on marinating. This is a pretty safe marinade, meaning just with the herb spices, the olive oil. You want to, I'm distracted. Why did I get that signal?
Timed you.
Oh, timed me.
You want
Thank you. Look at this. See, Alex, man, this guy is like master controller back there. He heard me doing it. Thank you. One more minute.
30, but okay.
Okay, thanks. Yes, it was. Anyway, sorry. The question, going back to the marinade, is if you had acid in there, like so if you did lime, lemon, orange juice, if you put something highly salty like soy sauce or you did a vinegar base, you would really want to be careful on what kind of food are you marinating, because if it's fish or shrimp in this case, it's going to basically cure it and it's going to turn the texture of it to be rubbery. And that's not what you're trying to do. Yes, you're trying to get the flavor in there to a degree. We're really just seasoning and enhancing it. We're not trying to infuse it per se. But if it was chicken or pork or beef, I would say do it in the morning. Not a problem. Go for it. Great question. Appreciate that.
Okay.
All right. Actually, I'm going to take this out so we can see where we're at, folks.
Bev is asking.
Look at that. This looks awesome. Now, this has been, a cup.
That
Can you
looks
put it on
good.
4, please?
Look at that.
This has been about 3 minutes or 2. And you can see how we're about 3/4 of the way cooked, or maybe halfway, depending on, when I flip some of these shrimp, you can see it's not, or it's partially cooked. It just smells just dynamite. The asparagus has turned bright in color here. Our tomatoes are getting pretty tender. We're going to put it in for another 2+ minutes. Again, I can't emphasize how simple this is. I mean, it's just like takes less than 10 minutes to cook. All right, we have lots of questions tonight from my family, like I've never cooked for them before.
We're not
but,
taking family at the
okay.
moment.
All right, let's not do that. Yes.
All right. Bev says, my broiler has never worked. Would it be better to bake? What temp and time, or stir fry?
Bev, I wanted to make a joke. If it doesn't work, yes, there's better cooking methods, definitely, because it won't cook, but that didn't come out right. Stir fry would be great. All jokes aside, baking would be great. You could do a high heat, 375, 400, 425. Again, because that shrimp is so light, and the asparagus and the tomatoes. What I love, Bev, about your perspective is you're thinking of alternative ways to make that happen. So kudos to you. Do the stir fry or do a high oven heat. Now, it's hot and muggy out today. And I was thinking, man, I'm doing an oven meal tonight, and if I had my way, I would take Tessa's point and I'd do it on the grill. But I can't bring a grill into my studio. That's a fire hazard. So, great question. Was there another thing there?
Teresa is asking, so I plan to do chicken along with the shrimp. I plan to slice the chicken. How thick would you recommend slicing to cook at the same rate as the shrimp?
Thinly sliced chicken, that was what I would do if you want to do it all together. Or what you can do is you can have thicker cut chicken. You could start that, have it halfway cooked, and then add everything else, and you will come up with an even, and even if you did 3/4, actually go 3/4 of the way with thicker chicken. If you did thicker chicken pieces, 3/4 of the way cooked, then add everything, that would be, fantastic. That would taste great. Speaking of tasting great, I want to check this one more time. Before I actually open that, why don't we, let's take, everybody's sending in their pictures of the recipes they're doing, and that's one of the things I love about this is you participate, and then I get to showcase all your hard work and effort. So let's see. Last week, we got Teresa says, lots of flavor and not spicy at all. I think she was surprised. That was the spicy pork and pepper dish. Super awesome. Teresa, beautiful dish. BK says, another winning recipe, 2 exclamation marks. I love it. Don had his corn tortilla on the side, and I had it wrapped with spring greens. Thank you, chef and team. It is our pleasure. I love your pictures, by the way. And we have Jackie says, we are cooking your delicious looking dish, but now we can't join you in real time because we have a 6:30 engagement. You know what? This is what I love. Whether it's real time or you do it when you can, you get to participate. Great tasting dishes, nourishing dishes. Speaking of that, let's pull this one out, and I'm going to comment on some health benefits here. Oh my gosh, this looks unbelievable. At this point, you can see how the tomatoes have blistered. You can see how the skin is blistered. These are nice and tender. Our asparagus is nice and tender. Also, folks, understand that your asparagus, with all the food, will continue to cook even when it's out of the oven, or if you turn off the pan after you're cooking it on your stovetop. So when you are getting comfortable with different types of textures, shrimp, fish is very different from beef or chicken or pork, so on. The way you cook game meats is different than non-game meats. My point is as you get comfortable cooking these, you'd notice these nuances. You'll notice these techniques that will help you ensure that you have, the best outcome for whatever you're preparing, especially when you're doing it for the first time. Now, I always talk about how nourishing is different than eating. And when we provide you our recipes, we're always focusing on great tasting, nourishing dishes. A couple things I want to point out. We have the asparagus, okay? Folate-rich asparagus, okay? Also B vitamin-rich asparagus and the shrimp. What's significant is brain health. B vitamins and folate is great for your brain and is great for mental clarity. So figure out how you can get B-rich vitamin foods such as shrimp, yogurt, mushrooms, and then on the folate side, dark leafy green lentils. There's all sorts of beets are great, and spinach, kale, collard greens, turnip greens, mustard greens. Those folate-rich foods are going to be super powerhouse foods for your brain and your mental clarity. I think after tonight, I got to get better mental clarity. So, anyways, that was a funny joke. We got more comments. Yes.
Well, we have comment.
Yes, indeed.
Teresa can't wait to make this dish. Cindy says last week's was so good. Have already made it again for dinner last night.
Love it.
And Bev says we had it for lunch today.
Yeah, and I so appreciate you taking the time to cook with me, try the recipes, and then share your, that you're enjoying it. And please share tonight's episode and past episodes. Share them with your social networks and let other people know, hey, this is great, great positive experience, fun Chef Marshall. We're doing these recipes. And make sure, if you're not already getting our shopping list and recipe in advance, go to chefmarshallO'Brien.com/show. Okay, I feel like I am having I'm totally spacing out. Did we go through the shout outs already? I feel like we did. I know, but I missed the end or something. Sorry. Okay, we're wrapping it up. Anyways, folks, again, to recap, herbs and spices with the marinade. If you're going to marinate, make sure it's not too acidic on the marinade, otherwise it'll cure your food. You can leave your tomatoes whole. With the asparagus, I want to make sure that you're trimming it so that you don't have that thick, woody, fibrous stuff at the end. And at the same time, you don't need to go the whole vegetable peeler route. I just think that's a little too overly cumbersome. So just trim off the ends. If you snap the ends, you might take a bunch of edible food with you. So don't do that, all right? Other tips that I have, I want you to, again, focus on those B-rich vitamin foods and folate-rich vitamin foods. Folks, find us on Facebook, as you were watching earlier, Chef Marshall O'Brien. Find us on Instagram, Chef Marshall O'Brien. And please go subscribe to our YouTube channel, Chef Marshall's Cooking with Confidence program. I hope that you enjoyed tonight's recipes like you've been enjoying the weeks past. Keep sharing them. Keep trying them out. Post your recipes in the comments, folks. Get your kids involved. Get your grandkids involved. And I want you just to have a wonderful, wonderful time. And I appreciate you so much for being with us. And if you are looking for more ways to get help with your meal planning, you want to set your kitchen up for success, you want to get more great tasting breakfast, lunch, dinner snacks, or you want to share that helpful information with people that you care about, why don't you please send them to our smartnutritioncookbook.com. Great resource. We got a physical physical paperback. We also have an e-version, so you can have it on your phone, have it on your tablet, whatever the case may be. Is there any additional questions? We're done for the night, though, folks. Have a great night. Next week, Chef Surprise. Stay tuned. You'll get in your inbox Saturday morning.